Hey guys, welcome to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we're diving into the strangest, sleepiest jobs from the Middle Ages. From coal burners to bell ringers, tanners to gong farmers. It's slow, it's dark, and it's made to help. You drift off. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what time is it there right now? Alright, let's begin. Let us drift backward now. It's backward through the centuries, past gaslights and clocks, past the streets where horses gave way to carriages, and carriages gave way to the hiss of steam. Keep going, past the cities, past the towns, until the air thickens. With smoke and the fields stretch in all directions, until the night returns to its throne. Now darkness is no longer feared, but simply accepted, expected, endured. This is the Middle Ages, and somewhere inside it, you are a candle maker. You are not noble. You are not poor. You live in the wide. Space in between, the space no songs are written about, but it is where most people live. And while others dig or beg, or so you make light. Not light like the sky makes, not the golden blaze of dawn, but something smaller, more fragile. A flicker that must be shaped, molded, and coaxed into being. Your workshop is narrow, made of oak beams warped by years of heat. The windows are tiny, fogged with grease and smoke. Your boots crunch on straw spread across the stone. Floor meant to catch the spills of tallow before they harden and take root. Here. In this place, you begin your day long before the sun. You rise in darkness. You must. Because to make light, you must first endure the dark. There are candles to pour and wicks to cut. And above all, there is fat to render. The fat arrives in barrels, gray and stiff, laced with bits of bone and hair. It is slaughterhouse. Waste, collected from butchers who don't ask where it goes so long as they are paid. You haul a bucket of it to the hearth, heaving it with both hands, your arms trembling by the time it tips. The smell hits first. Even before the fire begins to work on it, it's not just bad. It's thick, heavy in the chest, clinging to the back of the throat. Rancid. But you're used to it now. You've stopped flinching. You only blink and stir. The fat melts slowly. First around the edges, then in patches like ice left out under clouded sun. It turns from solid to slurry. Bits of meat rise to the top. You skim them with a slotted spoon, toss them into the bucket by the door. Later, you'll feed those scraps. To the pigs, they don't mind. Nothing offends a pig. You reach for the cloth bags of ashes next. You sprinkle them into the pot, stirring again. The ash binds the impurities, settles them at the bottom, and leaves the fat clearer. Not clear. Never clear. But enough. You lean back, breathe through your mouth. The first candle molds are wooden, old, worn. You fill them one by one, steady and slow. Drips spill over the edges. You catch them with a cloth. Each mold holds a wick stretched tight between two notches. Hand-spun, dipped in lye, dried by the hearth for days. If the wick is crooked, the candle will sputter. If the fat is too thick, it won't catch at all. You've learned this through failure. Through days of wasted tallow and hours of smoke-choked silence, you've burned your hands more times than you can count. The skin on your fingers is cracked, calloused permanently. Sweet-smelling with rot and wax. While the candles cool, you move to the back room. Here, the beeswax is stored. You keep it separate, sacred. Beeswax is not for villagers, not for field hands or cobblers. Beeswax is for the abbey, for the chapel. For those who speak Latin and never work a day with their hands, it smells like honey. In sun, it burns cleaner, it drips less. And when lit in the church, it is said to carry prayers more swiftly to heaven. You smile at that, not because you believe it, but because people do, and so they pay. You cut the wax into chunks, melt it gently in a smaller pot, add a touch of lavender, your own secret. Not enough to be noticed, just enough to be remembered. Outside, the sky lightens faintly gray, turning silver above the trees. You've already been working for hours. Your back aches. Your eyes sting, but the day has only begun. Sometimes you make rushlights for the poor, These aren't true candles, just dried rushes dipped in grease. They burn fast, smoke heavily, and stink, but they cost less. And that matters. You. Bundle them in groups of 12, leave them near the door for the widow to cottages over. She lost her sight in one eye last winter, a splinter from a collapsing beam. She still pays you in buttons and boiled grain. You never argue? There is danger in your work, though no one says it aloud. The fire, the fumes, the slow sickness that comes from breathing animal fat day after day. Some call it candler's lung. Others say it's just the price of a worm. House and steady hands. Your uncle died of it. He coughed wax for weeks. By the end, his breath smelled of burned marrow. No one spoke of it at the funeral, but you remember. Midday comes. The village stirs. Children chase chickens through the alley. Someone is shouting about bread. You eat your meal in silence. Bowl of barley, a heel of brown bread, strip of dried apple, enough to keep going, never more than that. You check the molds again. The tallow candles are ready. You slide them out gently, checking for cracks. Some are crooked. Some are too soft. You set them aside, melt them down again. Nothing is wasted. Nothing ever is. Your apprentice arrives at dusk, a boy of 9, sharp-eyed. Thin, he lost his father. In the last fever, you took him on because someone had to. He's quiet, doesn't ask questions. You like that? You set him to trimming wicks, tying bundles, sweeping the straw. He hums as he works. An old tune you recognize from your own childhood. You say nothing. But inside you remember the warmth of your mother's hands as she sang it beside the hearth. She lit your first candle. You still see it sometimes in dreams. Night falls. You light one of your best candles. Set it on the window. Let it glow. Your neighbor, the midwife, passes by. She sees the light. She nods, that's all. But it's enough. You sit down at last. Side. The fire, your hands are waxy. Your hair smells of smoke. And outside, beyond the shutters, the world fades into velvet dark. But here in this room, a single candle burns. And because of you, the dark does not win tonight. Before the fire, before the fever, before the rot had a name, there were only whispers. A cough behind a market stall, a sore that wouldn't heal. A family that disappeared before morning. You knew the stories, of course. Everyone did. But you never thought you'd wear the mask. Not until the bishop's man knocked on your door with the gloves, the robe and the beaked hood wrapped carefully in waxed cloth. Now you are no longer a barber, or an apothecary, or the son of a man who shoed horses. Now, you are something else entirely. You are a plague doctor. Your neighbors no longer greet you. They avert their eyes. They do not say your name aloud, but they let you pass. Because when your black robe rustles down the lane, they know the plague has come, and someone must walk toward it. You rise just before first light. Your bed is made of hay. It's covered in cloth you wash each morning with vinegar. Your hands are cracked. Red, sometimes they bleed. But no one will touch you if you wear gloves already stained. You dress in silence. First the linen undershirt soaked in camphor oil. Then the thick leather robe stiff, creaking, too warm by midday. Then the boots, then the gloves, then the mask. The mask is heavier than it looks. The beak juts far from your face, lined inside with dried herbs and flowers. Lavender, mint, clove, and thyme. You breathe through them. You tell yourself, they protect you. You almost believe it. But the real purpose of the mask is distance to make you unrecognizable, unapproachable, unreal. A creature, not a man. Figure of function. Not a neighbor, not a friend, and never. Ever a son? Your first stop is the baker's alley. The woman who sold sweet buns lies slumped beside her oven. Mouth open, eyes shut tight like a doll dropped in the street. She has no kin. You lift her gently. Wrap her in linen soaked with rosemary. Mark her door with a white line drawn in chalk. Then you light the small torch and step away. Someone else will carry the body. You are not allowed to touch the dead, only to mark them at the next house. A boy opens the door, older than 10. He doesn't flinch at your mask. He only points behind him, toward the dark shape curled on a mat. His sister, she breathes barely. Her skin is red, tight, blistered beneath both arms. You give the boy a pouch of juniper powder. Tell him to boil it in water and soak a cloth. You know it won't help, but he needs something to do, something to believe. You place a dried orange slice near the girl's nose. You light a stick of myrrh, then you nod and leave. The square is quiet. No children run here anymore. No traders shout, no laughter. Just the sound of wind across cobblestones, and the echo of a dog's bark far down an empty street. At the well, a woman weeps. Her husband stands behind her, stiff, staring. You nod to them both. They nod back. She holds out her hand, trembling. You give her vinegar, clove oil, and a clean rag. No charge. You haven't taken coin in weeks. There is nothing to spend it on. By midday, the mask begins to ache. The leather bites behind your ears. Your eyes itch from smoke and sweat. You sit beneath the archway near the chapel. Remove your gloves. Eat a strip of dried pear and a heel of bread gone, as hard as stone. Your hand shakes slightly. You think of home. You haven't been there in 4 days. The house stands at the edge of the fields just beyond the orchard. You know what you'll find when you return? You felt it in your chest 3 mornings ago, but still you work, because the list is not finished. The bishop still expects reports. Your ledger is made of parchment. Each house has a mark, a symbol for sick, symbol for dead, it's a symbol for nothing found at all. You dip the quill, scratch slowly. Every line matters. History will forget the names, but not the numbers. You make sure of that afternoon brings heat. The leather coat becomes unbearable, but you do not remove it, not even to breathe. You visit the apothecary, who gives you more garlic paste and a new pouch of rue. His son is coughing. He tries to hide it. You say nothing. You mark nothing, just this once. Near the bridge, a rat scurries over your boot. You don't move. They no longer bother you. They are part of the scenery. You've seen worse things crawl at sunset. The wind shifts. You can smell the pyres. Far off in the northern field, where the carts leave the city and never return, the fires are smaller now, fewer bodies. More ash. The end is near, some say. But you've learned not to trust hope. Hope is like a candle, bright when lit, but easily drowned. You reach the last house on your list, a cottage with blue shutters, hinges rusted, the door slightly open. Inside, a man and a woman, holding hands, eyes closed, not breathing. You close the door behind you, tie a black ribbon around the handle. You sit for a moment. No rush. There is no one to see you. You remove your gloves. Place your hand gently on the man's. You say nothing, but you feel the shape of his knuckles, the callus on his thumb. He was a smith once. You remember his laughter, the way he whistled while sharpening scythes. He made your first knife. Now he is gone. You walk back through the streets. No one stops you. No one ever does. You reach your own gate just as the stars appear. The candle in your window is unlit. You already knew, but still, your knees buckle. Your breath catches. You enter slowly. Your dog lies curled on the hearth. She lifts her head, wags once, and rests again. You kneel beside her, pet her with shaking hands. You light a candle, set it on the table, and for the first time in weeks, you remove the mask. Your face is hollow, lined, pale from lack of sun. You wash your hands in vinegar, then lavender water, then wine. You sit, stare at the flame, and whisper the names you remember, one by one, each one a breath, each one a farewell, not to save them, but to keep them so they are not forgotten, so that in a world wrapped in silence, someone remembers the sound of their names. You lie down in your robe, close your eyes, and though sleep does not come easy, tonight you are not afraid of the dark. When people see a rat, they scream. They leap back, clutch skirts and bread loaves, throw boots, call dogs, shout prayers, curse saints. They hate the things, but not you. You see a rat and you see money. You see a mark on your ledger. You see another evening's meal, another night in a dry bed. You do not scream. You do not flinch. You reach for your sack. And you get to work because you are a rat catcher. Your neighbors laugh behind closed shutters. Children call you names from rooftops. No one shakes your hand in the tavern. And no landlord lets you rent a room above the second floor. But the mayor pays you. The miller pays you. Even the priest, when no one's looking, leaves a coin and a candle by your stoop. Because the rats come for everyone, sooner or later, and when they do, they come to you. Your tools are simple. A heavy sack of hemp, patched with years of bites. A wooden cage, its bars notched by thousands of claws. A lantern. A stick smeared with goose grease and flour. And your terrier Pip? Fierce, small, loyal. Unbothered by darkness or stink, the two of you are a team, he finds. You catch it's not elegant work, but it is steady, and in the Middle Ages. Steady work can mean survival. You start your day before dawn, when the streets are still slick with fog and the drunks have all collapsed behind inns. You check the bait cages behind the baker's shop. 6 rats today. 3 gray, 2 brown, one with a bite taken out of its tail. You study it a moment. There are signs. Patterns. Bite marks on tails mean a shortage of food. Nesting in the eaves means kittens are near. When the mothers get bold enough to risk the smoke of the tanner's workshop, that's when you know the town is close to tipping. So you keep track. In your mind, your little black notebook, the scabs on your fingers, by mid-morning, you're called to the granary. Not again, you mutter. The storemaster greets you from the ladder, cloth wrapped around his nose, pointing at the rafters. The sacks are torn. Rice spills like dust from seams meant to hold firm for winter. You climb slowly, wood creaking, smell of rot thicken your throat. You place the bait stick. Wait. Breathe softly, then a blur. A squeal. You swipe the sack. Pip leaps. The rat squeals again, caught another coin, another sigh. The master says he'll leave the copper behind the barrel. He always does. You nod. You leave. You never stay longer than you have to. At noon, you rest by the riverbank. Pip drinks. You chew a strip of salted fish and a crust of black bread. You examine the cuts on your hand. A new one across the thumb. Still red dot, you clean it. With vinegar, wrap it tight. You've known men who lost their arms to bites that festered. One lost half his face, another his mind. The fever takes what it likes. You've learned to act fast. Always. Your next stop is the town hospice. You don't. Like this one. Too quiet. Too clean. The rats here are clever. They hide in the walls. In the folds of the dying. Beneath the beds where monks whisper prayers to saints, whose bones rattle in forgotten shrines. You try not to breathe too deeply. Pip sniffs at a corner, growls once. You follow him. 2 young nuns watch from the doorway. You ask them to step back. They nod. You pry up a loose tile. A nest, 3 pink squirming shapes, barely furred, blind, tangled together like worms. You scoop them gently, wrap them in burlap, set them in the trap. Pip finds the mother behind a curtain. Another squeal, another bite. But it's worth it. You nod to the nuns. They say nothing, but one of them bows her head. A blessing, maybe. You nod back, then leave. Evening comes slowly. Shadows grow long. Okay. The rats come bolder. You light your lantern. The flicker casts Pip's shadow against the brick. Twice his. Sighs a hero. You smile. Just a little. You make one final stop. It's the old mill by the creek. No one's used it in 3 years. The wheel is broken, the water choked with moss. But the rats love it. It's warm, dry, abandoned. You open the door. Step. Softly Pip growls. You ready the cage? Inside you hear them, skittering feet, teeth on wood. Tiny sounds of hunger. You lower the bait. Wait. The first comes. It's quick. Then the second. You don't bother chasing the third. You have enough. You set the cage. Place a few herbs beside it mint to keep the fleas calm. Then you leave it home. You light your fire. Hang your coat. Wash your hands 3 times water, vinegar, garlic broth. Pip curls beside the hearth, snoring already. You count the day's catch. 19, you'll turn in 14. Keep. 5 for training, the mayor will pay. Eventually, you don't mind waiting. You're used to being forgotten. You sit down. Open your little black book. Record the nests, the numbers. The strange one with one eye is the one that bit through copper. Then you write something you've never written before. Fewer rats today than last week. You stare at it a moment. It a good sign? Is it over? Or is something worse coming? You don't know. But for now, you lean back. Breathe in the scent of wax and ash. Feel Pip's warmth against your boot and sleep. Because tomorrow, the rats will return, and so will you. Asterisk. Before you open your eyes, you smell it. The stench clings to everything. Your skin, your blanket, the underside of your fingernails. Even your dreams reek of it now. Rot, piss, flesh you. Don't remember what clean smells like. You roll from. You're Matt. Stretch your arms. Hear the pop in your shoulder where the hide strap bruised it yesterday. You are an apprentice. A tanner's apprentice. Which means you're not a boy anymore. But you're not quite a man either. You are somewhere. In between. Everything smells like death. The tannery sits low beside the river. Not close enough to draw water from the clean flow, but far enough downstream that no one cares what spills back into it. The roof is crooked. The vats are deep. Each one large enough to drown in. Some say that's happened now and then. No one asks questions. The town needs leather, and you need coin. You wash your face with vinegar and ash water. No soap. Soap is wasted on your kind. You scrape your tongue with a willow twig. Chew fennel seed. It won't help, but it's routine. And routine is everything the master arrives at. First light, he says nothing. It just nods. Then gestures to the stack of hides in the corner. Raw skins, fresh from the slaughterhouse. You can still feel the warmth in them. Still see the outlines where limbs bent, eyes blinked, mouths chewed grass. Now they're just flesh. You carry them one by one. They're heavier than they look, wet, slack. You lower them into the first vat, lime and water. To loosen the hair, you stir with the wooden pole. Blisters already rising on your palms. The master watches. Nods again. You're learning. Next comes the scraping. You lay the hide flat across the beam. Use the curved knife. Scrape slow. Hair comes off in greasy curls. Bits of fat cling to the blade. You flick them onto the floor. Flies swarm. You keep working. There's a rhythm to it. Forward, drag, flick. Forward, drag, flick. If you stop thinking about the smell, it almost feels like music. Almost midday arrives. You eat by the vat. A boiled onion, half an egg, a cup of cloudy cider. Your hands are too stained to touch food. So you eat from a cloth on your knee. The master eats beside you. Neither of you speaks, but he gives you half his bread. That's enough. Then comes the worst part. The dog dung collected from alleys, left in barrels under cloth, out, mixed with water and spread over the hides to soften them, to prepare them for shaping. You retch only once today. Better than yesterday, the master nods again. You hold. Your breath. Knead the skins with your bare feet. Feel them soften beneath you. The filth seeps into your ankles, under your toenails, but you keep going. Because if you leave them too long, they'll rot. Too short, they'll crack when dried. Everything has to be just right, even in this hell, by evening. Your arms shake, your shoulders burn, the hides are stretched. Now, nailed to wooden frames, tight as drumskins, they'll sit overnight, drying in the wind. You stare at them, lines of brown and gold and black, fluttering like flags of some forgotten war. Leathers smooth, stained, alive in a way flesh know. Longer is, the master finally speaks. Good work, that's all. But his voice is low, tired, not unkind. You nod. You limp to the back room. Wash your hands in stale wine. Rub them with soot. You pull off your shirt. The rash on your ribs is worse. You cover it with cloth, it itches. You don't scratch, you learn that the hard way. The sun dips low. The river glows orange. The birds go quiet. You lie on your mat. Your skin sticks to the cloth. Your throat is sore. Your hair is stiff with grime. But tomorrow more hides will. Come more dung, more cuts, more stench, and you'll do it all again. Not because you love it. Not because you're good at it, but because someone must. Because the town needs. Boots, saddles, straps, bindings, armor, books, and all of them begin with you. You close your eyes. Feel the tightness in your fingers. Smell the lime on your breath. And you dream of nothing at all. Only the scrape, the stretch, the silence, and the soft, slow sigh of hides turning to leather in the dark. Asterisk, not all jobs begin in the village. Some begin far from the bell tower, beyond the thatched roofs and the gossip of market stalls. Some begin in the forest, where the trees speak in creaks, where shadows fall thick, where no path is truly safe, and even the birds fall silent after. Dusk, here among the trunks and moss, you keep your fire burning. You are a charcoal burner. And you live alone? Your hut is round, built of mud and timber, roofed in bark and layered straw. Inside, a cot, a stool, a stack of broken plates, a flint knife, a jug of water, slightly sour, and your ledger wrapped in oilskin and tied with twine. Everything smells of smoke, even the apples drying by the rafters, even the threadbare blanket where you rest your feet. The forest has swallowed you whole. It will not give you back. You do not light fires. You tend them slow, deliberate, endless each pile of wood. Each kill must smolder, not burn. You are not here to make flame. You are here to starve it. You pile the logs into great domes. Carefully, tightly, then you cover them with turf, with moss, with wet clay, a little air. It's not too much. Then you light the heart of it, single spark, buried deep. And you wait. It takes days. The logs blacken slowly, losing shape, shrinking in the night. You walk the circle.
Ow.
Always walking, checking the cracks, plugging gaps. Listening to the hiss, the groan of settling wood. Too much wind, the pile will burst into flame. Too little, and it will smother. So you keep the balance. Sleep in snatches. Eat what the forest offers. Chestnuts, bitter berries. Once, a rabbit, snared between two fallen stones. You roasted it whole, grateful, silent. The coal you make isn't glamorous. It won't warm a castle. It won't bake bread. But it burns hotter than wood. Cleaner, longer. The smiths depend on you. So do the glassmakers. The lime kilns. The iron pits without you. Their forges go cold, and so you work. Unseen, unpraised, uninterrupted. Sometimes you think of the others. The town you left behind, the apprentice you had once. A boy with a lazy eye and quick fingers. He lasted 3 winters, then vanished during a storm. You found one shoe weeks later, nibbled by foxes. Half buried under pine needles, you said nothing. Buried the shoe, and made another pile, because someone must. By the 3rd night, the dome is silent. No smoke, no creaks. You pull it apart slowly, gloved hands, cloth over your mouth. Inside, the logs are gone. In their place, black bone. Charcoal, light as feathers. Sharp as glass, you sort it into sacks. Tie each with care. Stack them by the tree line. A carter will come by in the morning. Take the sacks. Leave a half loaf and a jug of beer. You won't speak. You never do. Winter makes things worse. The piles take longer. The ground freezes. Your hands crack and bleed. But you keep burning, because coin comes slowly. Hunger comes fast. You sleep with a cold bucket near your bed, always warm, always watching. One night a deer steps into the clearing, thin, eyes milky. It watches you unmoving. You do not lift your knife. You do not speak. You just nod. It blinks once. It disappears into the trees. In your dreams, the piles never stop burning. They crack and groan and whisper. Sometimes they speak your name. Sometimes they ask where the boy went. Sometimes they burn. Too hot and you wake choking. but you return to them, always, because no one else will. One morning, you find a footprint by the kill. Smaller than yours? Fresh. You search the woods for an hour. Nothing, just wind, birds, and your own shadow. But that night, you leave half an apple on the stump, and when you wake, it's gone. You smile just a little. Then you build the next pile, cover it in moss. Light the core, begin again. Some jobs are done in daylight, some under stars, but yours. Yours begins after midnight, when even the taverns have fallen quiet, when the candles are snuffed, when the dogs sleep without barking, and no one is awake to see, no one except you. Are a gong farmer, it's in your work lies beneath the world. The name sounds harmless, even cheerful. What you do is neither. You clean the cesspits, you empty the privies. You gather what others discard, what no one dares speak of by daylight. In the cold silence before dawn, you shoulder your spade, your bucket, and your lamp, and climb down into the dark. Your boots squelch as you step into the first pit. The air is thick, heavy, sweet with rot, a breathless sweetness that curls behind the eyes. No cloth mask can block. You stopped trying long ago. You simply endure. The night soil has been collecting for weeks. It's thick, viscous, nearly black. The privy above is made of old wood. The hole splintered at the edges from 100 visits. You don't look up. You start shoveling. Each scoop echoes. Each bucket groans. You hoist them up one by one, rope and pulley. Hand dash over dash hand. Your arms ache. Your back burns. Your knees creak. But you keep going because it must be done. And no one else will do it. When the buckets are full, you wheel them through the alleys. The cart shakes with every stone. The smell follows you like a fog. Cats scatter. Doors slam. But you keep walking. Out past the gate. Beyond the orchard. 2. The dumping ground there, among the heaps of ash and cloth and spoiled grain. You pour it out, slowly, carefully. Then cover it with lime. The earth hisses softly. The flies scatter. You wipe your brow with your sleeve. Take a sip of beer, warm, flat, but it clears the throat. Just enough, you return for the second load. Then the third. By now the sky is paling. The first light of day creeps over the rooftops. You hear a rooster cry, a baby wail. Kay Baker's bell ring once. You move faster. The town is waking. And your job is best done before anyone sees you. You wash your hands in the stream. Upstream from the livestock, downstream from the weavers, you scrub until your skin stings. Then dry them on your shirt, still damp from the night's work. Your clothes smell worse than a midden. No one sits beside you at chapel, not even the drunkard, but the reeve pays you in coin. Sometimes when she thinks no one is watching, the midwife leaves you a loaf of bread and a sprig of mint. You nod when you pass her in the lane. She nods back. Neither of you speaks. That's enough. You try not to think about how it ends. Your uncle died coughing black. Your cousin's legs failed beneath him one winter, gangrene from a rat bite. He couldn't feel through the filth. You know it's only a matter of time, but for now, your back still bends. Your arms still lift, so you work. There are nights when the pits are deep, too deep. In the rope phrase, you've seen men fall. One never came back. They found only his boots. No one asked questions. The pit was filled, and a new privy built beside it. The village forgets. But you remember still there's pride. Not in the smell, not in the grime, but in the quiet knowledge that because of youth the town flows, the food grows, the children live, because waste, when gathered, becomes compost, and compost feeds the barley, and the barley feeds the bread, and the bread keeps the blacksmith strong, and the blacksmith's shoes, the horse that carries the healer to the house on the hill where the baby was born just last week. All of it begins here, with a spade, a pit, and a man who walks at night. You? Finish your rounds as the sun rises. The birds sing like nothing happened. Like the town wasn't teetering on filth hours ago. Like you weren't beneath their feet shoveling the difference between plague and peace. You smile. Wipe your hands. Take off your hat and rest. for tonight you'll do it again. Asterisk, the town sleeps. Mostly, but not you. You sleep in shifts. 3 hours at dusk, 2 before dawn, sometimes only 1. Curled in your cloak beneath the stone spiral. Because when the bell must ring, it must ring now, and you are the only one who can pull the rope. You are a bell ringer. The tower is your home, and time is your burden. The bell tower stands above all else, taller than the mill, taller than the church, taller than the trees even. From its window, you can see the roofs of every cottage, the steeple of the distant priory, and the curve of the world beyond the hills. You are not a priest, not a knight, not a monk. But when your bell tolls, they all listen. Each bell has a name. Yours is Lenora. Cast in bronze, blessed with salt and smoke, she weighs more than a dozen oxen. And when she moves, the world feels it. You feel it in your arms, your shoulders, in your ribs. The rope is as thick as your wrist. Your palms are leathered from years of pull and release. You wake with aches and bones. No one names, but you never complain, because time must be kept, and the bell is the keeper you. Rise before dawn. The stair creaks beneath your feet. You light the lantern. Oil sputtering. The flame dances over stone. You check the pulleys, check the knots. Though the air, damp or dry, still are shivering. You know how the bell will behave just by the wind. Your hands close around the rope you pull. Lenora groans, then swings. Once, then again. The sound rolls down the valley like thunder beneath velvet. Soft, then bold, then gone. The town stirs. A baker lights his oven. A widow folds her shawl. Children turn in their beds. The day has begun. Because you said. So, your next toll is at sext midday prayer. Until then, you wait, but you never sleep. Instead, you sweep the tower's stairs. You patch the pigeon netting. You oil the bell's hinges. Sometimes you write a journal of sorts. Frost again this morning. Market quiet only to carts. Smoke rising westward. Someone burning field scrub. No one reads it but you. That's enough, you know. Every sound the bell tower makes, the drip of rain through the roof slates, the flap of wings in the rafters, the hum of the rope, when wind tugs it just right. Sometimes it feels like the tower is breathing. Not loud, but steady, like you. You hum as you sweep. A tune no one remembers but you. Your mother's lullaby. Maybe. Or one the old bell ringer taught you. He died 15 winters ago. Fell asleep after midnight prayer. You found him the next morning, his hand still wrapped around the rope. You rang the bell for him, you still do, once a year, midday toll. Comes, you ring once, pause, ring again, 6 times total. A rhythm like breath, it's one for each hour since dawn. In the market, they nod, turn roasts, chop onions, lead cows to pasture. All because of you. You eat your bread slowly, sitting at the tower's window, watching the crows drift in lazy circles. Above the barley fields, the bread is dry, cheese is cracked. The apple is half bruised, but it's warm in the sun. And for now, the wind is quiet. You rest. When a fire breaks out, it's you who warns the town. 3 short rings, 1 long. Again, again, the sound cuts through fog. Through fear, the bucket line forms. The shouts begin, but it started with your bell. When a child is lost, you ring twice slow and steady. When the Lord dies, you ring muffled, leather-wrapped so the bell sounds like sorrow. And when the plague returns, you ring no more than once. At midnight, so the town knows, without waking, you have no family, no wife, no brother, just Lenora. But she speaks loudly, she remembers. She marks births, weddings, funerals, the new moon, first frost, and one day, when your hands grow to stiff, your knees too swollen, she'll mark your end too. Someone else will take the rope, and they'll pull, and Lenora will remember you. The sun sets red. You ring once for vespers. The bats flutter past your head. The candle burns low. You stretch, wrap the rope, Place the ladder just so. You sit beside the bell. Its bronze cool against your shoulder, and you sleep, because the bell keeps time. And for now, time is quiet. You start with silence. Always silence. Before the mourners come, before the priest clears his throat, before the bell tolls its single solemn note, you are already here, hands rough, back bent, shovel in hand, because no one thinks of the grave until they need one, and you are the one who digs. You are a grave digger, and you live among the dead, not out of love, not out of fear, but because someone must, and someone always must. You rise before dawn, not for prayer, not for bread, but to measure the earth. You know its weight, its texture, how it shifts when damp, how it settles when dry. You know which roots fight back, which stones hum when struck. You greet them like neighbors, 'cause in many ways they are. You walk to the edge of the churchyard, lantern swaying from your belt, mist curling around your boots. A blackbird watches you from the linden tree. It never sings until you finish. You nod at it, then begin. The first shovelful is always cold. You dig slow, not for laziness, for precision. 3 feet, then 4, then 6. Each motion smooth, even measured. You pause sometimes, not to rest, but to remember, because you've dug for them all. The milkmaid who once danced at the summer fair, the blacksmith's child with the crooked smile, the traveler with the golden tooth, the priest who forgave too easily, the thief who died with no name. You gave them all the same care. The gravedigger does not judge. He only prepares. He clears space. He opens the earth, makes room. By midday the sun breaks through. You wipe your brow, stretch your spine, then line the grave with planks, damp and worn. You don't want the sides to fall in during the lowering. It's happened before. Once, the coffin slipped, split against the edge. The mourners screamed. The priest crossed himself twice. You stayed behind after dark, redigging, refilling. You never told anyone. No one asked. The mourners come in small clusters, some crying, some silent, children clutching lilies, widows in black, men with their hats in hand. You stand back, still almost invisible, but always watching, always ready. The priest speaks. The bell rings once, twice, then silence. You lower the rope, the coffin settles, some throw flowers, others just stare. Then they leave, one by one, back to their bread ovens, their fields, their debts. You stay behind, you always do. You begin to fill, shovel after shovel, soft at first, then firm. You press each layer down with your boot, make it even, make it right. By the time you finish, the sky is gold. You place a stone. Do you know name? Just wait. A marker until the mason comes. If the mason comes, you sit for a while. Back against a yew stump, hands on your knees. Birds call overhead. The wind lifts the grass. You say nothing? Do you think of the others? All of them beneath your feet, lined in rows. Sleeping, you remember where each lies, even the forgotten especially. The forgotten in your hut is small. One window, one chair, a candle stub, a pair of muddy boots by the door. You do not need much. A bowl of soup, a flask of cider, a dry cloak. Sometimes the priest visits, leaves bread, says nothing. You nod, grateful. He nods back. Always the same way at night. You walk the rows, counting stones, checking for animals. You speak softly, not to the dead, not exactly, to the memory of them, to the idea that they once stood, once loved, once feared the very hole they now rest in. You light a candle, place it by the altar, whisper a line from a psalm you half remember, then sleep. The gravedigger does not dream, only remembers you know your own place is waiting. Far corner, near the elder tree, you dug it yourself once. It's practice. You smoothed the walls, laid the planks, marked the depth, then filled it again. Someday, someone else will open it, and you'll be ready. But not yet. Tomorrow, there will be another. A child, maybe, or a mason who fell from the scaffold. You will wake, will dig, and the blackbird will wait until you are done before it sings.